I will add this back in later, but one thing that I did not talk about while I was actually walking through Seattle is that Seattle has quite a lot of homeless people living in the city. And I've heard some people prefer the term houseless or unhoused, which can be more accurate in many situations because someone may not have a house or an apartment, but they may still have a community or a place where they're living that they would consider to be a home. But also, I think there are many people whose lives are so incredibly hard and one of those things is not having a place that they would consider safe enough to call home, and so homeless acknowledges that better. But anyways, a lot of times people will worry about my safety when I am walking through areas with a lot of homeless people, but at least in my experience, I've never felt unsafe. And I actually, depending on what I'm wearing that day, I often get mistaken as being someone who is homeless. And so often when I'm walking through the city, I'll be exchanging nods of acknowledgement, camaraderie, kindness, occasional smiles. And there are a lot of people who are struggling with mental health and addiction. And so I do remain alert and friendly, and I don't hike or I don't walk through the city at night. But that's really all that I feel that I need to do to feel safe. And actually, the biggest feeling that I have whenever I see people who are homeless is that could very easily have been me. Because I had a good life, savings, a job, stability, and then one day I got a herniated disc and sciatica, and all of a sudden I couldn't work at all for a year. And basically all of my money was going out instead of in, and the only reason that I did not end up homeless is that I have a wonderful family and a wonderful support system and a place where I could rest and heal. I lived with my parents. They took me to all of my doctor's appointments, and with the support of my friends and family, I was able to heal and go on this hike, and now I feel strong enough to be able to work again. And I am incredibly fortunate, but there are many people who do not have that support system. They are living paycheck to paycheck. They may not have any family or friends who would be able to take them in. They may be the sole providers for their family. And a lot of people don't have the option to be able to focus on healing for a whole year. They'll have to go back to work, and then their sciatica will come back because they can't avoid their pain triggers because the work will trigger it. And then they may have to rely more heavily on heavy medications. And then if they have to have that for a long time, they could become addicted. I can easily see how someone without resources can end up in a really dire situation, even though they've tried everything they can to avoid it. And I was talking about this subject with a friend of mine who is a drug and addiction counselor and talks with a lot of homeless people and has sort of the pulse on it. Just one person, but still. And we talked about how often in society there is this perception that homeless people are homeless because they are lazy, or they could be pulling themselves out of homelessness at any time just by getting a job, and that they are homeless because it is somehow their fault, and that that's something that would never happen to someone normal. But it is very easy to fall into homelessness and very difficult to climb out of homelessness. And I asked my friend, how many people do you think are actively trying to get out of it? And she said probably about maybe 60% of people are actively trying to get out of homelessness, but they are blocked by factors outside of their control. One of those is bureaucracy. In order to get a job, you need an ID. In order to get an ID, you need a birth certificate. You don't have a birth certificate because you are homeless and living on the streets, and you haven't seen any of your papers in years, and you have no idea where they are. In order to get a new one, you have to register and apply and pay this fee that's expensive for you. In order to get into a long-term shelter, there's a huge, really long wait, maybe a half a year or more. In order to get into a short-term shelter, you have to give up quite a few of your belongings, and then you'll be right back on the street and now without anything that you have. Just so many small little things that would be molehills, is that the word, for us, but are mountains of an obstacle for someone who is homeless. It's just so much harder and more expensive to build a life back up when you don't already have a foundation that you can start building on. And then another factor is beyond their control is medical problems. There's a lot of people who actively are trying to get out of homelessness, but they are dealing with such severe medical problems that all of their energy and focus and money is going into dealing with the healthcare system, which I found it was hard for me to deal with my resources. It's an absolute maze figuring out your own health. And I had great doctors too, but even so, a lot of it was on me. So that's the 60% who are actively trying to get out and they just can't. There's factors stopping them. And then maybe 35% of people who have mental health issues and addiction issues that are so severe and so debilitating that they can't even think about trying to get out of it. They are just in pure survival mode. And then that leaves only about 5% of people who are actually prefer the life and want to be in it and don't want to get out. And my friend said, but if you dig into that, you're probably going to find some pretty significant trauma in their lives. Anyways, those are my somber thoughts for the day, and I'm just left feeling a really, really deep gratitude that I've been lucky enough to have such a wonderful support system. I am certain that I will end up in Germany at some point. That's the sound. I think that might be Discovery Park way over there on the edge. And then, yeah, we can't decide whether these are painted on. Yeah.
I'm dressing for the trail in like winter conditions and on.
Okay, where's my, oh, there's my finger. I came in from over there, past there, and then I came in through the city and I explored, and then Capitol Hill is somewhere over there, and the Washington Arboretum is somewhere over there, and I crossed the bridge, and UW is somewhere over there, and this is Lake Union, and then Lake Washington is over on the far side, and then I hiked north, and then if I go back this way to the left or to the west, that's the Sound.
To the right, we got Lake Union, where the sea lanes come and go. The building on top of the hill, that's Queen Anne High School. Those are now condos. Off to your left, you have Climate Pledge Arena, home of the Crack of the Storm. Next to that, you have Two Spot.
So in terms of trail, I am at Snohomish, but last night and tonight I'm staying at my friend's house in Bothell again. And then today I went into Seattle to see my friends from the PCT who are from Germany, because they just finished the trail. They did a flip-flop and they were coming through Seattle and flying out. So I'm really glad that I got to see them before they go all the way back to Germany, and we just caught up on the rest of our trail, and we hung out at the Space Needle for over 2 hours. We were just sitting on the glass floor. It rotates, so we just sat there and watched the ground rotate below us. It was a really nice time. Oh, it looks so good. Thank you so much. I'll add this back in later. Marina's husband's mom made so much good food while I was there. I don't think I managed to take a video of all the plates of food that I ate of her cooking, but all of it was delicious. And she made her own yogurt. Here's the books that I got at the Elliott Bay bookstore. This one because I spend so much time in the libraries on trail. And this one because Halloween is coming up and I wanted something spooky with witches. And then I got this fun little thing from one of the glass blowing studio. I usually don't buy trinkets, but for some reason I really liked this little trinket. I'm leaving Bothell probably for the last time. I stayed with my friend again last night, and now I'm taking the bus back to Snohomish, where I hiked to 2 days ago, and then I will continue my hike north. That was one of the most fun pottery shops I've been in. It had literally everything. You could spend hours in there picking out things for your kitchen or your mugs or whatever. Yeah, I definitely want to go back. It's in Snohomish, the Bruning Pottery. And of course, I'm in Snohomish again. Okay, I think this is the start of the Centennial Trail. So I think it's definitely one of those trails where they took an old, obsolete rail track and turned it into a biking and walking path, which I love those projects. Today is a very chill day. I'm on the Centennial Trail and it goes all the way from Snohomish through Lake Stevens, Arlington, and then a little bit beyond that. And I have no idea how far I'm going today. Probably, it was at least 20 miles, but I may only go 10 today. I'm in Lake Stevens, and I just had a lovely little library day.
Were the famous paranormal investigators in The Conjuring? I'm sorry, who? Who were?
Okay, so I'm in Lake Stevens, and the place that I thought that I was going to stay tonight, where there would be camping, turned out to be a very private, exclusive kind of camping, not public. So I couldn't stay there, and so then I was thinking of like busing over to Everett and staying there, but in the meantime I was hanging out at a bar, which seemed to be kind of like the central hub of this town, and then it turned out to be trivia night, and so they came up and like, are you doing trivia? It's free. And so I was like, okay, and I was on my own team, and so I was terrible at it. But that was okay, and I put my team name as Pacific Crest Trail. And then I left the bar to go catch the bus, but the bus was 5 minutes early, and I literally saw it driving away from me. And so then I went back into the bar to see if I could rejoin trivia, and at that point they all knew who I was, like the solo person whose team name was Pacific Crest Trail. And then, you know, we kind of talked about it in the whole bar about that I was going from Mexico to Canada. And then I just said to everyone, if anyone wants to host me tonight, I would love that. Please let me know. And somebody did. There was a really lovely group of friends, 2 couples that were playing trivia, and they invited me to stay with them tonight. And so I went and I joined their team, and they were way better at trivia than I was. And then now I'm at their house, and I have somewhere nice and warm and dry and inside to sleep tonight. And they're so nice, and we had so much fun.